In the small, seemingly ordinary town of Hawkins, Indiana, where extraordinary and terrifying events unfolded in the 1980s, one man stood apart not with supernatural powers or government training but with a weapon far more mundane and yet incredibly potent, a hyper-observant mind. That man was Murray Bauman, a former investigative reporter turned paranoid conspiracy theorist who lived in a cluttered, paper-filled bunker of a house. To the casual observer, Murray was just a ranting, unkempt eccentric. A figure of fun on the fringes of the story. But to look closer, to truly listen, was to understand that Murray Bauman possessed a rare and critical skill set, the ability to see the truth hidden in plain sight, to connect disparate dots into a coherent, and often horrifying, picture long before anyone else could. His documentary was not filmed with a camera, but pieced together with newspaper clippings, red string, and a relentless, logical mind that treated the world's lies like a bad smell he could not ignore. His story is the story of the smell of truth, a testament to how careful observation, critical thinking, and the courage to voice uncomfortable conclusions can become the most vital tools in a battle against otherworldly evil. Murray's environment was a physical manifestation of his brain. His home was a chaotic archive of information, a labyrinth of stacked newspapers, pinned notes, and maps connected by a spider web of red yarn. This wasn't just the mess of a madman, it was a database. In an age before the internet, Murray was a human search engine, cataloging inconsistencies, tracking strange disappearances, and filing away tiny news items that the rest of the world forgot. Where others saw isolated events, a missing hunter here, a weird power surge there, Murray sensed a pattern. He approached the world like a crime scene, and everything was potential evidence. This hyper-observance wasn't a magical power, it was a disciplined practice born from his journalistic past and fueled by a deep, abiding mistrust of authority. He understood that governments, corporations, and powerful institutions had a habit of lying, of covering their tracks with simple, palatable stories. His nose, as he would say, was sensitive to the stench of mendacity, the foul odor of a lie. He could walk into a room, listen to an official statement, and immediately sniff out what didn't fit. What was too neat, what was being left unsaid. This made him seem paranoid, and in a way, he was, but in the upside-down world of Hawkins, his paranoia was simply a heightened form of realism. We see his skills in action most clearly when he becomes an unlikely mediator and investigator for Will Byers and Jim Hopper in their search for Will. While the police write off Joyce's claims as hysteria and Hopper is mired in guilt and brute force investigation, Murray operates differently. He listens, he watches, he doesn't just hear their words, he reads their body language, their hesitations, their emotions. In a powerful scene, he has Joyce and Hopper sit in his basement and, like a therapist conducting a brutal session, he forces them to vocalize the truths they are hiding even from themselves. He observes the tension between them, the unspoken history, and he uses that friction to puncture their defenses. He doesn't have access to the secret lab or the upside down, he has access to them. By observing their human reactions, their love and their fear, he deduces that Joyce is telling the impossible truth and that Hopper knows more than he admits. He then applies his connective logic to the facts, a missing boy, a fake body, a power company no one has heard of buying up land, strange rumors from a grieving mother. His conclusion, "You're not crazy. You're right," isn't a guess, it's the final product of his observational assembly line. He gave them, and the audience, the first coherent conspiracy theory that explained Hawkins, and it turned out to be entirely correct. Later, in the midst of the Russian conspiracy in Season 3, Murray's skills shift from detective work to the art of human manipulation and cultural observation. Thrust into a partnership with the fiercely pragmatic Alexei, Murray's job is to get information from a man who speaks a different language and has no reason to cooperate. Here, his observation is not of documents, but of human nature. He doesn't just learn Russian phrases, he observes Alexei's desires, his childlike wonder at a simple American carnival, his love for cherry Slurpees. Murray understands that truth isn't always extracted through force, sometimes it's bartered for with small moments of genuine human connection and the fulfillment of a simple, long-denied joy. He becomes a keen student of Alexei the person, not just Alexei the Russian scientist. This pays off spectacularly. Similarly, when he and Joyce are captured by the Russians, Murray's survival depends on his ability to observe and perform. He instantly sizes up the situation, the dynamics between the guards, and concocts a wild, barely believable story about being star-crossed lovers. It works not because it's a good story, but because Murray sells it with an acute understanding of what his captors might find tragically romantic and, more importantly, distractingly trivial. He uses their assumptions and their momentary drop in guard as a weapon. Perhaps Murray's greatest contribution, however, is his role as the translator of the unbelievable. In a world where kids are fighting Demogorgons and a girl can move objects with her mind, the adults often struggle to accept the reality. Murray bridges that gap. He takes the fragmented, insane truths from the kids and the emotional truths from the adults, and he synthesizes them into a narrative that makes a terrible kind of sense. He is the audience's surrogate, the normal human being who, through sheer force of logic and observation, is forced to accept the supernatural. He doesn't have a heroic moment of beating a monster with a bat, his heroism is intellectual. He validates Joyce when the world calls her crazy. He helps Hopper see the scope of the conspiracy. He helps decode the Russian transmission. He even, in his own weird way, helps bring Nancy and Jonathan together by pointing out their complementary strengths. He is the glue that holds the disparate human elements of the fight together. Because he is the only one actively looking for how the pieces fit. In the end, Murray Bauman is a celebration of the human mind as a tool for truth. In an era that often dismisses the conspiracy theorist as a lunatic, Stranger Things presents one as a hero. His power is available to anyone, the willingness to question, to look deeper, to connect, and to trust the evidence of your own eyes and nose over the comfortable story you're being told. He teaches us that the truth often doesn't smell like roses. It smells like ozone, and fear, and government disinfectant, and it's buried under a mountain of paperwork and polite lies. His journey from a mocked outsider to an indispensable member of the team is a victory for critical thinking itself. He reminds us that you don't need superpowers to be a hero in the fight against darkness, whether that darkness is from another dimension or from the lies of the powerful. Sometimes, all you need is a sharp mind, a good nose, and the courage to follow the smell of truth, no matter how foul or frightening it may be, all the way to its source. Murray's chaotic web of red string wasn't a sign of madness. It was a map of reality, carefully and painstakingly drawn by the one person in Hawkins brave enough and observant enough to look at all the evidence and believe what it was telling him.